we could keep getting weird together for a really long time here, but I'd like to switch gears for a quick fire segment.
Sure.
I've got 5 questions for you. How do you stay inspired and motivated in your creative work?
I am not one of those people that goes and does the same thing outside of work. I want to be a rounder person. I want more reference points. And so for me, I'm a big reader. My wife used to be a children's librarian. My kids like to read. Like we are book people. So for me, I'm not just exposing myself to other reference points. I'm exposing myself to other worlds and other ways of thinking. But it's also about hobbies. It's about all of these other things, and you start to think in different ways by doing different things. So part of it, I think, is what are the things I see that I can deconstruct, that I can be inspired by. But there's also what are the things I can do that will cause me to think differently and to have experiences I otherwise would not, which I can apply back. When it comes to inspiration, more specifically, I am that person that looks at everything around them and picks it apart, not to, drag it through the mud or anything, but just because I'm curious. I'm very curious and I want to see how everything works. And so it's literally everything around me. And also, there are things I follow on Instagram and YouTube and this and that, where it's just these people are doing great work and I love seeing what they do and how they think. I am more attracted to sources that let me see the thinking, where it's not, hey, here's a roundup of the 10 best XYZ. Those things have their place. But I love to watch somebody figure it out.
Yeah.
Fail a little along the way and get somewhere incredible, because it teaches me more how I can do the same. Maybe I can skip the fail part if I saw them do it. We'll see.
Love that. What's your favorite brainstorming technique? I know you already shared one, the emoji Thunderdome approach, but what else do you have in terms of brainstorming techniques that work really well?
I think of moves such as that as the icebreaker, which partly is to get people to open up, partly is to get them to think different. But I think that's important because it helps us to set tone. When we make our icebreaker, insert whatever adjective, weird or whatever it is, we're essentially saying, in this space, here's where we can go together. So that's very important. But the bulk of the time together, always plan ahead. Never show up and be like, hey, what ideas do people have? I am big on structured brainstorming, and I meet with my folks. I lead other leaders. And so they're leading brainstorming efforts and all sorts of things. And we will sometimes meet together ahead of work that they are facilitating. Say, okay, what do you want out of this? What are you trying to get to? Okay, let's break that down and figure out what are some questions we could ask, and not even direct questions. What get us into the type of solution we might want? What's one dimension of it that we can spend some time on together before we move on to something else? And then in the virtual whiteboard session, these folks have a whole plan that they could step the team through, and we're tightly controlling. I don't want to go too wide. I want to focus. That's part of how we get to meaningful before we go big. So you go one at a time, structure it for sure.
Earlier, the deconstruction element, right? Part of what you're doing in that brainstorm is you're being like, well, let's just talk about this like sort of sub segment of the issue or the audience or whatever, really dive deep on that versus trying to solve at the highest, level of the 100% approach. What's your go-to tool or software for creative work?
It really is like the virtual whiteboard, whether that be, freehand, Miro, whatever. There's a bunch of them out there. I love how unstructured you can be, and then how structured you can get. It's very helpful, and we use those to generate ideas. We also use those to document and for all sorts of stuff. But I'm also a plain text document person, like not even Microsoft Word. Like give me the little text edit app on my computer, and I turn off the rich text formatting. It's just plain text. So I can just get stuff out there, and it's impossible for me to format it, to add anything. Just like getting something out there in its most raw state.
That's great.
I like the constraints that we can place upon ourselves with various tools to force ourselves only to go to the piece we're trying to get to.
Yeah. What's one common mistake you see in healthcare marketing campaigns?
Trying to be like other healthcare marketing campaigns. I think our entire industry has been working very hard to escape a past. Sure. There have been no shortage of amazing breakthroughs and treatments and all these ways for us to service patients. But on the marketing side, like, let's be honest, like we're a lot better right now than as an industry we used to be. And I love when any brand in healthcare says, hey, what great thing do we want to do? And not what great thing do we want to do in healthcare? Like, remove that from your criteria. Obviously, like you said earlier, obviously we're going to get in front of regulatory bodies and everything, but like, just focus on excellent visual design. Focus on content that is completely breakthrough. Focus on marketing that is like just actually just the best there is. And hey, by the way, we happen to be doing it in healthcare, pharma, whatever.
Yeah. Amen to that. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
So I recently took up crosswords. I enjoy it as long as they're the easy ones, because I'm not looking to be challenged at that point. I'm trying to unwind. I like when you get into a rhythm with it. But again, I'm a reader. I'm a walker too. I love to escape to the outside alone.
Yeah.
I don't even want to walk through the woods. I want to walk to the woods and then sit there and just kind of listen and be and observe. I think we'd all be better off if we spent more time just being and not as much time doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great place to end things. I think, Matt, this was a real pleasure. I had a blast talking with you today. Thank you so much for being here. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
I think LinkedIn is probably the best. I think you'll probably link that in the show notes. Folks can follow the link, send me a message. I'm happy to field questions or congratulations or whatever you have for me.
Awesome. So be sure to follow Matt on LinkedIn. And if you enjoyed the conversation today, do us a favor and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That's it for today. Thanks to all of you for being a part of the Health Marketing Collective, where strong leadership meets marketing excellence, because the future of healthcare depends on it. We'll see you next time.